Blessings. This is Queen Mother. I come to you with greetings of blessings, love, and peace. I was happy to find that many of you had emailed me concerning what it was to be motivated. It seems as if it's a simple question, but it's very powerful question. I was very delighted because motivating yourself, it is the number one reason why people are successful and why some people are not successful. How well you are motivated can determine the well-being of your community, of your family, and even most important of yourself. So we are going to call it analyzing motivation. I'm going to say it again. We're going to call this analyzing motivation. Now, what is analyzing motivation? First of all, you have to ask yourself, what is motivation? So we're going to start out with the meaning of motivation. Motivation has the meaning of influence of ways and action. I'm going to say that again. Motivation has the meaning of influences of ways, action, and even behaviors. That is the meaning of motivation. It is a behavior, it is an action, and it is influence. Those are the components within motivating yourself to become a better person. Now, I work with victims of domestic violence for over 27 years. And I know that many times coming out of abuse, it is very difficult to motivate yourself. When you have been a child and you have been raped, you have been molested, or you've been a child of any kind of abuse, or when you are a victim of domestic violence, it becomes very difficult when you've suffered any kind of trauma or abuse in your life for you to find that influence, that action, and that behavior. That motivation is just not there. So sometimes that person have to see the self-worth within themselves, which is no easy task. I would like to say this. I lived in abuse for the better part of 20 years in my first marriage. And it is one of the reasons why I do what I do with the passion that I do it with. So I know what it's like to feel that you have no motivation within you, but you're going to have to muster up something to put yourself together enough to make a better life for you and your children and a future for your grandchildren and even most of all for yourself. At the age of 9 years old, I was molested by my auntie's husband. So I can tell you firsthand, going into a marriage after suffering child molestation at a very, very young age. I was so young my mother had to sign for me to get married to my first husband. After suffering those kind of blows in my life, there was days I did not have any kind of motivation at all. I didn't want to do anything but end it all. But let me say this, that through motivating myself, what I find most helpful to motivate me was the love I had for the people around me. When I gave birth to my first child, it motivated me to want to do better, to want to be a better person. It was something within me that said, you may have to close your eyes to everything else that looks so sad and dim surrounding you and bring up that motivating spirit that is within you. which is something that we all have. We are born with it. Yes, it helps to have people surrounding you to push and motivate you. But then there's people like myself. When I was suffering in my abuse, there was days no one was around me. I had to push something out of myself that I did not know that I had. So motivation is something that you can find within yourself. It doesn't matter if you've been raped as a child, if you've been molested, if you have been abused as a child or as an adult, any type of abuse. And when I speak of abuse, I'm not just talking about what they call domestic violence. There is abuse on the job, there is abuse in the churches, there is abuse on the streets, there is abuse in the home. And what is wrong with our society is that they don't have the wisdom to see this. They don't understand. They want to separate domestic violence from other kind of abuse. But you cannot do that. Abuse is abuse on any level coming from any people. So when I found myself living in a predicament that was extremely unfavorable, and I didn't know what I was going to do, I did find the strength within myself because of my children. My children became the motivation factor in my life that made me want to do better. Now, had was that, remember what we said earlier? That motivation is the influence. Let's deal with the influence first. You gain motivation because of what is surrounding you that influence you to do so. So my babies gave me the strength because they became the influence behind me putting up and making a better future. So influence is extremely important for every last one of us. The second thing we want to deal with is actions. Now I'm going to say this. You can't expect the people surrounding you to have the actions of a person that wants to motivate you if you don't have it. You are your number one fan. You yourself, believe it or not, are the most important person in your life that is going to motivate you to make a better future for yourself, your home, your community, and your children. It's going to come from you. No matter who puts it in you, it still has to come from you. So with it being the behavior also, the behavior is your actions must have the actions of a person who wants better. Your actions must precede your motivation, and your motivation must precede your action. Your action is a prelude to your behavior, and your behavior is a prelude to your actions. So keep in mind that the motivation is influence, it is behavior, and it is an action. And the behavior in the action motivates you. That is why earlier I said it's important to be around people that motivate you to do better, to make a better person of yourself. Also, keep in mind that the meaning of motivation is the will to act upon something. In other words, you have to have the will to act upon something. You have to have the desire. And I know firsthand that when you're living in abuse, you don't have the will to do it. So in order for some people to gain a desire and to gain a will to want to motivate themselves to do better, they have to get out of the abuse. As long as I was living with my abuser, it was almost impossible for me to become motivated to make something better of myself. Because that is what abuse does. Abuse do not allow you the opportunity to even think beyond what your abuser is telling you. If your abuser is saying to you that you are stupid, and that is what you hear on a daily basis, that is not going to motivate you to live unstupid. If they are telling you that you are no good, that is what you're going to believe. It may take a while for you to believe it, but eventually you will begin to see the no good part of you. So in order for you to get out of that way of thinking, you're going to have to rise above and get out of the abuse. So if you really want to be influenced by something that is worthy of being influenced, if you really want to be a behavior, have a behavior that helps you to have better motivation, if you want to see yourself with better actions, it helps to get out of the abuse that you are in. We cannot tell anyone to stay in the relationship, and we cannot tell anyone to get out of the relationship. That is your decision to make. But we can tell you from our own experience, from our own wisdom, and from our own knowledge what it takes to motivate yourself to do better. And we do know that living inside of abuse will never motivate you to do better. So please keep in mind that the meaning of motivation means influence, behavior, and actions. We thank you for your time. You may keep your emails coming. We will answer them at every opportunity that we get. Thank you and blessings.